I don't know. I want my enemies to see me sitting down and reading. He's old now. Can't even stand up and read anymore. I'd like to read a piece I wrote about Jack Kerouac, because we were looking at the book up there where the guy was saying, this is a real example of pop writing, talking about On the Road. So, well, they didn't have pop writing then, it was a better world. This is called The Prophecy of Jack Kerouac. Kerouac sees himself as the prophet and Charlie Parker as God. Herb Gold says around 1958. America, after World War II, was well on its way to becoming the kind of ugly, spiritually desolate world it is today. Boy, you got that here too. Yeah. We were up there, I was trying to have my joint before the show, and a huge wagon full of police pulled up and started shaking down kids on the sidewalk. Well, what are you letting them do this shit for? This is awful. That's what they ruined America with. Excuse me. Spiritually desolate. When you got wagons full of police cruising the streets in the middle of the afternoon, shaking down citizens in front of a bookstore, you're in the wrong planet. Okay. The mental and moral landscape of America had been flattened and irradiated like Hiroshima and Nagasaki when the warplane Enola Gay dropped the atomic bomb on human beings in Japan. And the fabric of American life would remain terminally warped forever after, or at least until that day when the Americans finally faced up to their terrible history and offer their most humble and sincere regrets and abject apology to the peoples of Earth. The dehumanization of American civilization began in earnest when they dropped Fat Man and Little Boy and the people of Japan and flew smugly away back to the land of the free and the home of the brave. And after the bomb began the homogenization and commodification of our culture, spearheaded by a legion of real estate developers desperate to reshape America in their own image and driven by an insatiable greed to begin the process of draining and abandoning our nation's beautiful, teeming urban communities to establish their endless networks of suburban modules designed to house the white people in an ever-expanding ring of once open land outside the limits of our nation's cities. Here, too, began the rigid economic stratification of our society, which has created a tripartite modern reality in America. The rich get richer, the people who are allowed to work for them prosper in suburban bliss, and the uneducated, racially segregated underclass is left to wage a bitter struggle for simple survival in the vast urban ghettos which remain as the ruins of our great industrial centers. Small pockets of resistance gathered and stood bravely against the raging tide of conformism and conspicuous consumption which swept over post-war America. Tiny clumps of intellectuals, both street level and academic, left-wing agitators and apathetic dropouts, jazz musicians, poets, honkers and shouters, bluesmen, painters, mad bebop dancers, the operators of tiny independent record companies that specialized in documenting and disseminating the popular music of African America, and a handful of inspired writers determined to chronicle the joys of modern life, as well as measure the relentless disintegration of the nation's human and emotional resources during this ghastly period of decline. Okay then, that wasn't so bad. No. The greatest of all these writers was Jack Kerouac, a literary prophet who illuminated post-war America with his epic tales of ecstatic and complicated life outside the narrowing cultural mainstream. Jack Kerouac left our humble planet for places unknown on October 21, 1969, at the age of 47. That day also marked the 52nd birthday of the then very much alive John Burke's Dizzy Gillespie, genius of modern jazz, born in 1917. Kerouac's birthday, March 12, 1922, coincides with the death of the great Charlie Parker, one of Jack's idols and prime artistic influences, on March 12, 1955, at the age of 34. Well, there's some cosmic conspiracy stuff for you. I have friends who would go crazy if they read that paragraph. I must have been high when I wrote this. It is not at all strange that these three contemporaries, born within a 5-year period, should be linked by their vital dates on the great wheel of karma. Together, they forged a complete revolution in the sound of modern music and prosody. The shift in verse and prose forms pioneered by Kerouac and his literary comrades moved American writing after World War II to follow the rhythmic and harmonic revolution in jazz waged during the years of war by Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, Kenny Clarke, and their contemporaries. Kerouac, first attracted as a football scholarship student at Columbia University to the sound, intelligence, and drive of tenor saxophonist Lester Young, was an habitué of the after-hours sessions at Minton's Playhouse and Clark Monroe's Uptown House in Harlem, where he heard Monk, Bird, Dizzy, Max Roach, and other young jazzmen wrestle nightly with the problems involved in moving the music to a higher level of complexity, intellection, and rhythmic thrust. Kerouac spent the rest of the 40s trying to infuse his own writing with the wild methodology of bebop, finally succeeding. Oh, is that just a construction man?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
These coppers make me nervous.